Secretary Yellen, thank you for being here. I remember our visit last time. I appreciate these days. I know they're long days for you with a lot of questions coming from multiple directions, but this is an important, one of the more important hearings that we'll do all year. So this is going to sound like a gotcha question to start off with. It is not. I want to expound on it and have a really thoughtful discussion on the corporate tax rate because it's based on our conversation last time and a continuation of that. But would you agree, can we at least say that we agree that tax policy does have an impact on our economy?
It can, yes.
Tax policy does have an impact. So this is the part that's frustrating me as I hear from my Democratic colleagues today about, we've got such a great economy today, and we've had such a great, strong recovery, and all this kind of, the bare bones of our economy are still in place from the 2017 Tax Cut and Jobs Act. We saw strong economic growth. We saw real wage growth come from the 2017 Tax Cut and Jobs Act, and I can speak so favorably about it. I wasn't even in Congress then, so I'm not even boasting about this. As I watched COVID hit and threw everything off into the world, and then when Democratic control took over in 2021, there was massive spending, but the same tax code, the same tax rate still existed. Some things were starting to trail off. I hope to be able to reestablish the R&D tax credits as well as everybody on this committee, basically. But we have seen a strong economic recovery. Unemployment is low, and I can absolutely point that to the fact that we have had a consistent, simpler tax code that strengthened middle class and lower income Americans since 2017. The part that concerns me is a book that I recently read. It's called Never Split the Difference. The tax rate was 35%. 2017, we lowered it to 21, and now President Biden just wants to do 28. It almost feels like lazy to me that we're just going to say, well, okay, because you admitted last time you were here when we were having our conversation, I do believe it was too high, and now I believe it's too low. So we're just going to split the difference. But the part that I want to hit on here is, according to the Tax Foundation, the top combined marginal rate on corporate income under current law is actually 25.6%, and the president's proposal would increase that to 32.2%, a corporate tax rate that would be the second highest in the OECD behind Colombia. The Joint Committee on Tax has shown that most of the cost of a 28% corporate tax rate would be borne by Americans making less than $500,000. What specific analysis can you point to demonstrating that raising the corporate tax rate won't impose burdens on low and middle income Americans?
Well, I think all of the analysis I'm familiar with shows that TCJA, including the corporate tax cut, was a regressive tax cut that disproportionately benefited the wealthy and large corporations. And the corporate tax cut enriched corporate shareholders at the expense of the alternative, which would have been benefits to middle-class families.
So if I could jump in.
It promised an investment boom, and that certainly never materialized. You said that the economy did well, but I don't believe it did well because of that piece of legislation.
Okay,
and
thank you, and I'll reclaim my time. I don't believe you can argue, and if you want to come to the Utah's first district, you can hear from companies in that district where their real wage income grew for their frontline employees. This wasn't just for all of the shareholders like it's oftentimes communicated. We will see that as we just try to split the difference on this tax policy, that cost will go directly to the consumer. Take a retail company or a Home Depot or a Lowe's. If we put that extra tax burden on them, there's only one place to put it. They still have to pay their employees. They're going to have to raise income. They're going to have to raise prices on consumers. And I don't know of any analysis that would refute that.
Well, there's an interesting recent paper that shows that there were some benefits that went to wage earners from the corporate tax cut, but it was almost exclusively to the highest income earners within corporations, that virtually none of it went to the massive workers at these firms.
And that hasn't been my experience talking to actual companies in my actual district. I know it's considered a strong talking point from my colleagues on the left, but that hasn't been the experience. Companies had extra income that they could reinvest in their companies. They would keep it onshore. And this is the part that I just dig into that frustrates me so bad. And I'm already over time, and I appreciate the conversation, and I believe next time we'll continue to talk about the corporate tax rate.
Ms. Steele.